Hello, and once again, welcome to another program of Your Local Government, where we focus on government issues. Many times when we discuss schools, we're talking about schools locally. Today we're going to be taking a broader view. We have the Senior Director of Government Affairs for Pennsylvania School Board Association, and that is John Callahan. John, thanks for being with us today.
It's an absolute pleasure.
And we're looking forward to learning about the School Board Association that has a broader view on what's happening in schools. But first, tell us about yourself. How long have you been with PSBA and maybe what you've done prior to that?
I've been with PSBA for a year and a half as their lobbyist, in essence, for government affairs. And prior to that, I've been in and out of government all my life, from working with governors to working with various different associations, from business to banking, so all over the spectrum. And now I'm in education, so it's been a wild ride to get here.
Sure, probably quite a bit different being a lobbyist for education versus for various businesses.
Yeah, but again, up on the hill, I'd say it's all about the relationships that you have and the ability to talk to people about the issues. And in essence, a lobbyist is there to educate people on the issues that are important to the client.
Sure. This may be the first time that some of our viewers have ever heard of PSBA, Pennsylvania School Board Association. Give us that view from 10,000 feet. Who you represent, what your goals and objectives are.
It's a member-driven organization. Obviously, you hear school boards in the middle of that, but we have school board members. We also have superintendents and solicitors and IUs as a part of that. And it is an organization that was started, back over 100 years ago, to give a voice to public education in the halls of the Capitol, and to provide our members with education on how to be a school board member, how to be how to run a school. And we provide services such as policy services. And we were talking a little bit about that before the show, but that's the whole rule book that's based off of law on how to run a public school. So we provide education to not only the public school itself and the people that have to run it, but also the school board themselves that have to govern the school.
Sure. I'm sure many people know that the only requirements to be a school board member is I think you're over 18 or 21 and you live in the district and you get enough people to vote for you and you're in.
It is a thankless job,
yes.
But you don't get paid much, I've been told.
Yes.
More like $0.
More like zero, yes.
But it is a job that I think those that are in it are very dedicated to the district, very dedicated to education. And it's not easy. It's a job where I think if you're a freshman to it, you kind of come in and might have one perspective, but at the end of the day you find that, wow, there's a lot more to education. I mean, when I came into this business, there's a lot more to education than meets the eye.
Sure. One of the old stories in education is people join the board because they want to get a new coach or they want to change the music program or something. And of course, those are the wrong reasons to be a school board member.
Yep.
But then they learn once they're on that this is a whole lot more complex than they ever envisioned.
Yeah, I mean, education in Pennsylvania, not only do we have so many districts, but education in general, there's different curriculum, there's the Pennsylvania Common Core, there's all kinds of different health cares and not contract negotiations and superintendents and how that runs. I mean, it is a very large business in many communities.
Sure.
And to run a school building is it's just simply not a simple job.
Sure, and the teachers have their union that have
Yep.
their demands, and then there's the taxpayer who thinks their taxes are too high, and then the parents who, why don't we have this program for my child? And you're right that the conflict is just ongoing to try to find that balance.
A lot of pressure, but it's all worth it at the end. I mean, at the end of it, the product or the thing that we're invested in is the students, and that's where it's worth it. That's where the rubber hits the road, and the education it's all about the students. And I think that's the association's take on almost everything. Is it's about the students and how do we build a program or how do we build a structure that's going to ultimately provide a protective place for students, but provide a place where they can learn.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little about your staff, how big your staff is, and then where you get your funding.
We have a significant staff that runs policies, legal, and so forth, and that's around 80 to 90 individuals. I mean, that's a big staff. And where do we get our funding? It's a membership-driven organization. School districts themselves actually join to be members of the association, and that's tax dollars.
Okay. Any government funding going into this, or is this totally by membership?
Totally by membership. There are other kind of offline funding, which I would say we have a conference that raises money, for people who are going to attend. So there's other things that raise money, but significantly, it's a membership organization.
Okay. The issue, the big elephant in the room, so to speak, right now is the budget, because we have a a governor who's a Democrat, and then we have the House and Senate now covered by or ruled by the Republicans, diametrically opposite views. I don't think if I ever remember a conflict such as this on the budget. I mean, during the Rendell years, there was some times when there was budget stalemates, but this seems to be the champion of stalemates. And if you'd walk us through, firstly, how it's impacting schools, and then walk us through what's happened so far with this budget and what's hanging this up.
Well, yeah, wow. The Pennsylvania budget is obviously key in the entire thing. I mean, we're at a stalemate, and that's, you got a new governor who's come in with what he says is a mandate for education, and he's asked for $410 million on that for education, the basic education funding line item, and that's really where the bigger crux is, and a few other different requests. And the legislature themselves don't want to, they don't think that the 410 is there, that they can afford that. You have to raise taxes for that. So there's that general conflict. It's Republican, Democrat, but it's also, I'd say, between the administrative section of government, the governor, and the House and Senate. And we've seen that in past governors, no matter what you are, Republican or Democrat, that's going to happen because the governor's going to have goals and the legislature's going to have goals. Mm-hmm. Where it comes down to what we're worried about is the schools. And obviously with the stalemate, schools are not receiving their portion of the state funding. And that comes out through not through a formula right now, but hopefully through a formula in the future. But it comes from the state to districts on different shares. So your school district might get 40% from the state or might get 60% from the state. Whatever that is, that's not coming in. Mm-hmm. And that causes problems depending on how much you're depending on from the state. Mm-hmm. And many districts are starting to find this. So what we've started to see in the severe, in the severe end of the spectrum is teachers we're not able to meet payroll in some school districts. And that's really severe. Mm-hmm. Other school districts have reserves and are actually borrowing from those reserves. So they have the ability to kind of take them through the crisis up to a point, maybe December. Other school districts are postponing bills that they have, so we've heard instances where they're actually not paying utilities, so they're postponing those bills. So depending on what your situation is, and again, there's 500 different situations out there, you can go from the really severe to maybe we're prepared, and a majority of our money comes from the local mm-hmm. local taxpayers, so we're okay. So. Around here, you might have a few school districts that are perfectly fine, but then the school district over might be saying, look, I can't pay my pension bill, I can't pay my employees in the next month, or I can't really pay the electric bill that's coming up, mm-hmm. because I've run out of money. So what are we going to do? Mm-hmm. And that's the worst part. But I think overall, when it comes down to school boards, and I think supers and teachers, their overall goal in this whole crisis has been to make sure that the students, for lack of a better way of saying this, don't feel the crisis.
Sure.
So we're going to educate kids, and we're going to do our best at doing it. This crisis is really slowing down things and having an impact, but our goal at the end of the day is to make sure students don't feel it.
Exactly. Okay, it's time for a break. We'll be right back after these few words. Stay with us.